I was just sitting in this car thinking, like, damn, I wonder what Frank Ocean's up to.
Most people have a hard time predicting where I might be or what I might be doing.
It appears Frank Ocean is ready to step back out into the spotlight as he will be headlining Coachella this year. And the hype has been amplified and long awaited for Frank's return. Everyone has been wondering for so long, where is Frank Ocean? What has he been up to? The intrigue and mystery of Frank Ocean continues to grow, and it could be due to how infrequent he releases music. However, usually when an artist isn't putting out music for their fans, the fans move on. Frank Ocean's gap in releasing music seems unusual given how big he is as an artist, almost as unusual as his fans sticking around for him. It piques my curiosity to look deeper into the music and into his writing, to peel back the layers. And the brilliance of Frank Ocean lies in the ideas and how well the ideas are executed. For some, his music may trigger nostalgia and a portal into an inner child that was previously untapped to listeners prior to discovering Frank Ocean's music. And in some regard, it's the soundtrack for the lives of the lost and wandering. I began to grasp that both the complexities and simplicities of life were both recurring concepts Frank Ocean focused on.
I was just trying to connect or articulate visually the feeling of being numb, like the feeling of somebody trying to love you but you can't feel it.
And that the method to his madness lied in personal narrative writing. Ocean feels that you got to make sure the listener is listening to you. A lot of that, when I pull from that place, it comes along with pictures. Trying to make something photographic of something you can't see, materials that aren't visible.
Frank stresses that the freedom to do what you want is most important to a creative.
I think just creativity in general, just doing what you want is so important.
Ocean ruminates on tidbits of his life while packaging them sonically in a way that is forward-thinking. He executes these ideas in a way that is thoughtful but simple, with passion, conviction, and commitment. With all these qualities at your disposal as a songwriter, I suppose you don't garner such a devoted fan base on accident. And I see that Frank's goal is to tap into a certain emotion and have the listener connect with it. Whether that may be altering his voice like he did on Ivy, and according to a November 2016 interview with the New York Times, part of the song shows Frank drowning in tears and filled with anger. Frank admitted to altering his voice in order to make it sound younger to better encapsulate the emotions of young love.
There were things you didn't need to say. Did you need to?
A part of Frank Ocean's impact lies in how he's able to dismantle and shatter the perception and expectation of what a black male artist is supposed to look and sound like. And he's managed to do this by simply self-reflecting on the areas and choices in his life that has forced him to define his identity and what masculinity looks like for him.
Frank Ocean elaborated more on his creative process with MTV News.
Melody isn't difficult. Melody is easy. Because melody is always bad when you overthink it.
It's about how he immerses himself in the stories he tells and how he's been able to make connections to the darker aspects of his life as well as the brighter ones.
It was like difficult, to make, piecing together all the resources to do it, at the level that I wanted to, like the quality of record I wanted to make, and not really know how to make beats and not really know how to engineer like that, and really only being a singer-songwriter at the end of the day.
In songs like Thinking About You, Ocean creatively challenges himself to use singular experiences in his life to form personal narratives and utilizes sequences of notes to build a sonic concept. Music icon Rick Rubin references seed ideas to describe Frank's style of writing, which are tools in the writing that exist separately, that alone may have nothing to do with the song, but is used as a gateway to access himself initially. But as you see, as the story continues to unravel and the song begins to show its shape and depth, you start to see the song build around those ideas.
I take my time. Some songs come quick. Swim Good came quick. I wrote that in like half an hour. American Wedding took me a week and a half. It really just depends.
Throughout his entire catalog, Frank Ocean utilizes his gifts as a songwriter to convey hardships like being displaced after Hurricane Katrina, having to relocate, and using color and sound to make these experiences feel tangible to the listener.
He's a genius based off the fact that he had a deal and he didn't put out an album in 4 years. And with his deal, he literally figured out how to get 20 million from Lucien Grange, drop his deal, figure out how to make the funds apply to a whole nother album, give him a bullshit album, get out his deal all in one round. That man figured out how to finesse the record industry, and people don't talk about that.
The variation in sonic experimentation, along with a chaotic mixture of strings and synthesizers, are purposely busy and cloud the space of the listener when reflecting on times of discomfort. I love how the music on Blond just sort of feels like it floats. It feels atmospheric, like a soft, even temperature spring day, like a perfectly sequenced daydream. Just humans in transition passing, completely raw, vulnerable, and stripped down.
This is joy, this is summer.
Many lines play off the characteristics of the summer to represent what love means to him. Frank Ocean highlights the transition from night to day to utilize the contrast in beauty and intimacy he shares with the lover during the night. Some would see the rise of the sun just as beautiful, but to Frank it symbolizes the end of a beautiful night.
On comes the evening, gold seeking in.
All good things must come to an end is a frequent theme in the music, and each thought or idea seems to be stronger in Frank's memory than what the present times have to offer.
What inspires me to make music is, I guess I'm just inspired to tell stories.
Ocean often uses heartbreak in his records as a vehicle to explore what he has been burying subconsciously. He uses different tones and colors to express the extremities of his emotions.
And I'm swearing up and down. The tides on my youth. The creases in my brow ain't tan lines. Salt waters from my eyes. The sun burned me black and blue.
While thematically using relationships and social commentary to reflect on human nature and the growing pains of youth. And it's possible that as Frank reflects on the past, Frank's maturation process in the present may be packaged with his healing process as well.
His gifts as a songwriter has drawn a lot of attention from fans and artists alike.
And my husband was playing this music, and this guy's tone and his lyrics just touched me. And after one song, I said, okay, who is that?
And as you continue to explore and peel back the layers of Frank Ocean's songwriting and his songs, you see at the core of it just how perfectly flawed humans are, and how his experiences of past relationships reflect his need for connection. And maybe it might be used to channel what may be absent in his life currently.
So it was like, dang, he can really sing about whatever he wants to sing about, and people are loving it. Like, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Frank Ocean, period, definitely helped.
Yeah.
He was a strong standpoint in my writing.
And even just in your life, like, helped you get through some of your rougher times.
Yeah.
There's a wide spectrum of perspectives that are detailed in Frank's songs, and some of these perspectives detail some of the more extreme circumstances of human existence, but still seem to connect on very relevant and interesting parallels. In Sweet Life, he pontificates on how the rich are blinded by privilege, too distant and disconnected from reality to understand what is happening outside of paradise. A narrative of how your environment can color and shape one's perspective just as much as hitting rock bottom can, like in the song Crack Rock.
He uses complex structures, double entendres, analogies, and even records that seem to lack structure and form to all express intense emotion and numbness.
This kind of devotion to his craft has even inspired some of the greatest musical geniuses of our time.
He's lyrical, he's got a great perspective, and super sick melodies. I haven't seen anybody bob and weave through chords with such catchy melodies in a long time.
The brilliance lies in how well the idea is executed. Like in the delivery, if you notice, the song is sung with a fractured breathiness. And according to Frank Ocean, it's because that's how a smoker would sing it. And how the beauty and inspiration can lead you down a path to cover a song like this, to cover hitting rock bottom and focusing on addiction and substance abuse. And as an artist, you never know where inspiration can come from.
I could never make 'em love me, never make 'em love me.
Each character in the Frank Ocean cinematic universe seemed to have this deep thirst for intimacy, so deeply deprived of healthy love that some of these characters resort to intense, toxic, and unhealthy attachments, finding themselves in a cycle of trying to prove their devotion to each other, but forgetting that their foundation and values are hedonistic in nature.
Have you ever asked yourself as a Frank Ocean fan, what does Frank value? And who values him in his life and for what reasons? Do you get a feeling that all this may not be worth his peace of mind, despite having so much at his fingertips? Again, he has a lot of luxuries and liberties that come with being a successful artist. Like, it's nice to not have to work a real job since 2009. I guess when you're that talented and have such a large impact, you can afford the luxury to disappear. And Lauryn Hill had a very interesting point about not releasing a follow-up to her monumental album, or at least when fans thought they wanted it.
I'm not in the studio right now, and everybody in my world thinks I'm crazy. What's going on? You need another album out. You know, the time is running out. You have a certain window to make music. So what I realized is, you know what? I can't create and not live. I can't be in this vacuum of, you know, of creativity without life.
I used to grow very disappointed in my favorite artists when they would take their time in between album cycles. One, I felt like they were adhering to a concept that didn't exist, the concept of perfectionism. I always felt like perfectionism was a lie and was rooted in fear. Fear of what exactly? I don't know. To me, it's the unknown. But I never had a logical answer as to why artists didn't release music more consistently, or at least material, because how can you connect with your fans and your supporters if you're not releasing art or music? But I had to learn as a fan that just because my favorite artists or your favorite artists are not releasing music doesn't mean they aren't creating, because artists are constantly creating, because that's how they evolve. Now, if that's what it is and they're taking their time in between albums to live life, to grow and to learn, then I have no problem with that, because you can't make a great body of work without living. And I've had to learn that as a fan, that it's important for artists to create. They're always creating, not just a safe haven for themselves, but also a safe haven for their supporters and listeners that are listening and consuming the music.
I care for you still, and I will.